Today, we are exposing 5 beef cuts grocery stores push on you every week. Misleading, overpriced, and, for many of you watching, quietly working against the health goals your doctor already gave you. And revealing 5 that are worth every penny. You know what some of that premium beef gets injected with before it hits the shelf? Salt water. Number 1 might be the most important swap you make all year. Number 10. Pre-marinated/enhanced beef. Pre-marinated beef is what happens when a food scientist discovers that salt water weighs the same as protein. That fajita-ready, grill-ready package in the meat case looks like a genuine convenience. Pre-seasoned, pre-marinated, promising restaurant flavor without the work. For a shopper who trusts their grocery store, it makes complete sense. These products typically run $2 to $5 per pound more than the plain equivalent cut. You are paying a premium before you even check what is inside. Here is what is inside. The USDA allows beef to be injected with up to 12% added solution, saltwater, phosphates, and flavor compounds before it ever reaches the shelf. This must be disclosed on the label. It is, in small print, on the back, that most people never read. A plain 4-ounce serving of fresh beef contains approximately 60 to 90 milligrams of sodium naturally. That same 4-ounce serving of enhanced, pre-marinated beef delivers 400 to 540 milligrams of sodium per serving, up to 9 times more, before you add any seasoning, sauce, or sides. For anyone managing blood pressure, following a doctor's sodium limit, or watching heart health, that is not a fine print issue. It is a health decision disguised as a convenience product. The beef under the marinade is frequently a lower-grade cut. The salt and phosphates mask the quality difference. That tenderness is not from well-raised cattle. It is from salt softening the muscle fibers while phosphates trap injected water inside the meat. You are paying premium prices for inferior beef soaked in salt water. The label says grill ready. What it means is sodium loaded, lower grade, and marked up to cover their processing costs, not the quality of what you are eating. That is number 10. Number 9 takes the deception further because this one is written directly into the name. Number 9, boneless short ribs. Boneless short ribs are what happens when a marketing team discovers that chuck does not sell for $12 a pound, but short ribs does. That thick, meaty slab labeled boneless short ribs looks like a premium braising cut. The name carries real weight. Genuine short ribs have a reputation. Rich, deeply collagenous, fall apart tender after a long braise. Worth every penny of the price. Grocery stores commonly charge $9 to $14 per pound for this label. Here's what the label is not telling you. True short ribs come from the plate or rib section of the animal. They have a bone. The collagen and connective tissue surrounding that bone is precisely what gives authentic short ribs their character after a long, slow cook. What most grocery stores sell as boneless short ribs is chuck, the same shoulder meat sitting 2 feet away in the case for $6 to $9 a pound, cut into rib-shaped pieces and given a premium name. Butchers acknowledge this openly. USDA labeling does not fully prohibit the practice. Chuck runs higher in intramuscular fat than the true short rib cut it is impersonating. For anyone managing saturated fat on a doctor's recommendation, this labeling deception does not just cost you money. It makes it nearly impossible to track what you are actually eating. You cannot make informed dietary decisions when the label is deliberately working against you. You are paying short rib prices for chuck roast, wearing a short rib label. The name changed. The cut did not. That is number 9. Number 8 puts a Japanese name on an American product and charges you accordingly. Number 8, grocery store Wagyu. Grocery store Wagyu is the most expensive word in the meat department. The word carries genuine prestige. Japanese. A 5 Wagyu is among the most extraordinary beef in the world. Legendary marbling. Extraordinary fat distribution, served in the finest restaurants in America at over $150 a pound for authentic product. So when you see Wagyu at your grocery store for $25 or $35 a pound, it feels like a rare opportunity. It is not. The USDA has no enforceable federal standard for what the word Wagyu must mean on a grocery label. After the official standard was withdrawn, producers were left to define their own criteria, submitted to USDA simply as not misleading. American Wagyu in most grocery stores is a crossbreed, often 50% Wagyu genetics or less, crossed with conventional American cattle, finished in standard feedlots, under no special production requirements. The cattle can be grain-finished in conventional conditions and still carry the Wagyu name on the package. The result tastes better than commodity choice grade, but it does not melt. It does not carry the extraordinary marbling of authentic Japanese-raised cattle. In blind tastings, even experienced beef eaters regularly cannot distinguish grocery store American Wagyu from a high-quality choice cut at a third of the price. Standard feedlot crossbreeds, like most grocery store American Wagyu, have significantly lower omega-3 to omega-6 ratios than authentically raised Wagyu or grass-finished beef. Higher omega-6 intake is consistently associated with increased systemic inflammation. You are paying Japanese premium pricing for commodity feedlot nutrition, and the label will never tell you that. You are paying for a Japanese word on an American crossbreed raised in a feedlot, under standards the producer wrote themselves. When packaging becomes the product, consumers become the marks. That is number 8. Number 7 might be the most expensive illusion in the entire case. Number 7. Filet mignon. Filet mignon is the most tender cut of beef and the most misleading conversation in the meat case. Everything about it signals luxury. The small, perfectly round medallion. The price that tells you this must be extraordinary. For generations, it has been the special occasion steak, the anniversary dinner cut, the one ordered when money is not the question. Grocery store filet mignon runs $30 to $45 a pound for conventional cuts. Organic or grass-fed, $40 to $60 a pound, 2 to 4 times the average steak price. Here is what that price is actually buying. The tenderloin makes up just 1% of the entire animal. There are only 2 per cow, yielding roughly 1 pound of filet mignon per animal. The scarcity is real. But scarcity does not explain why the most expensive steak in the case is also the least flavorful. The tenderloin is a muscle that does almost no work on the animal. That is why it is so tender. It is also why it has almost no intramuscular fat, almost no marbling, and almost no natural beefy richness on its own. Chefs routinely wrap filet mignon in bacon, or finish it in a heavy butter sauce, not for presentation, but because the steak cannot carry the plate alone. Those additions pile significant saturated fat onto the most expensive cut in the case. You end up paying the highest price per pound in the store, and then adding the one thing your doctor has probably already told you to limit, just to make it worth eating. The steak needs the help. Your cardiovascular system pays for it. You are paying the highest price in the case for the cut with the least flavor, compensating with saturated fat to make it taste like something worth that price. That is number 7. Number 6 is the cut grocery stores promote hardest, and for your health, possibly the most important one on this list. Number 6, individual packaged ribeye. The grocery store ribeye is the steakhouse experience sold at steakhouse prices, without the steakhouse. Ribeye is genuinely good beef. The marbling is real. The fat cap is real. The flavor is rich and unmistakably beefy. For people who grew up seeing ribeye as the pinnacle of the meat case, reaching for one feels like a well-earned treat. Individual packaged ribeye at grocery stores runs $18 to $22 per pound nationally, up to $27 at specialty stores. A whole ribeye roll cut yourself runs $14 to $16 per pound, $5 to $6 less on the exact same beef. Do the math. On a 2-pound steak, that is $10 to $12 left in your pocket before you even open the package. But price is not the most important issue here. A single ribeye steak pushes well past what the American Heart Association recommends for total saturated fat in an entire day. Their guideline is less than 13 grams from all foods combined. A Tufts University study of nearly 4,000 adults aged 65 and older found that each additional daily serving of red meat was linked to a 20 to 22% higher risk of cardiovascular disease. That risk was not seen with poultry, fish, or eggs. The Cleveland Clinic specifically flags high-fat cuts like ribeye for older adults managing cholesterol, blood pressure, or any cardiovascular history. Most grocery store ribeyes are USDA choice, the middle grade. Approximately 70% of all fed cattle in America qualify as choice. You are not getting prime. You are getting the standard mid-tier grade, pre-cut thinner than any steakhouse would serve, and packaging designed to look like a premium occasion. You are paying steakhouse prices for middle-grade beef, cut thinner than it should be, by a corporation whose entire business model depends on you reaching for the most expensive item in the case. Especially if you are over 60 and your doctor has ever mentioned cholesterol, the math here is working against you in both directions. Subscribe now. We do not work with grocery chains or meat processors. We just research what is actually in these packages and tell you the truth. Number 5, flat iron steak. Flat iron steak is what happens when science found the value the industry had been leaving on the table for 100 years. In 2002, meat scientists Chris Calkins at the University of Nebraska and Dwayne Johnson at the University of Florida, funded by the Beef Checkoff program, identified a specific muscle in the chuck shoulder that had been overlooked for generations. Their research confirmed it was the second most tender cut of beef on the entire animal, sitting directly behind filet mignon. It had been ignored because a strip of connective tissue runs through the center. Once researchers developed a way to remove it during fabrication, a completely new steak was born inside a cut that had been sold as budget shoulder meat for over a century. Flat iron runs $9 to $11 per pound at retail. Against filet mignon at $30 to $45 per pound, that is the same tenderness at roughly 1/4 the price. The flavor comparison is not close. Unlike filet mignon, flat iron carries deep, bold, beefy character. The chuck primal delivers rich marbling and full flavor depth that the most expensive steak in the case simply cannot match. Chefs who know this cut have been quietly ordering it for their own dinner tables for 20 years. In blind tastings, it consistently competes with steaks costing 2 to 3 times as much. For older adults watching both budget and cardiovascular health, flat iron earns its place on both counts. It carries a favorable protein-to-fat ratio compared to rib section cuts, with strong micronutrient density, iron, zinc, and B12, at a price that makes it a realistic weekly choice rather than an occasional splurge. Premium cuts can deliver flavor or tenderness. Flat iron delivers both, alongside the nutritional profile and the price in the same package. Bold beefiness from the first bite, tender through every cut, no sauce required. That is number 5. Number 4 has been the most underestimated cut in American grocery stores for generations, and it delivers more protein per dollar than almost anything else on the shelf. Number 4, chuck roast. Chuck roast sits in the discount section of the meat case while delivering more nutrition per dollar than almost anything positioned above it. Chuck comes from the shoulder of the animal, a hard-working muscle group that spent its entire life supporting the weight and movement of the whole cow. That work built deep intermuscular fat and rich connective tissue throughout the cut. High heat turns that connective tissue tough. Low heat, time, patience, and liquid converts it entirely into gelatin. What comes out of that process is beef that falls apart under a fork and carries a depth of flavor no premium steak can replicate at any price. Chuck roast runs $6 to $9 per pound nationally, roughly half to 1/3 the cost of ribeye. A 3-ounce cooked serving delivers 23 to 26 grams of protein. It is an excellent source of vitamin B12, zinc, selenium, niacin, vitamin B6, and choline, every micronutrient needed to support muscle mass, nerve function, and immune health in older adults. 0 carbohydrates. A $15 chuck roast, a slow cooker, and 8 hours produces beef that a $60 ribeye cannot match on tenderness or depth. No skill required. No monitoring required. The cut does the work. You are not paying steakhouse prices for a cut that demands precision timing, resting temperatures, and high heat technique. You are paying $7 a pound for beef that rewards patience and punishes nothing, while delivering a nutritional profile the premium case cannot compete with. Chuck roast does not come with a fancy name or a marketing story. It comes with more protein, more micronutrients, and more meal per dollar than anything sitting above it in the case. That is the only label that matters. That is number 4. Number 3 has the endorsement of every doctor who has ever written a sodium or cholesterol warning on a prescription pad. Number 3, top round roast. Top round roast is the cut your cardiologist would choose if they did their own grocery shopping. Top round comes from the rear leg of the animal, a lean, hardworking muscle built for endurance. The USDA lists it among the leanest cuts of beef available. The Mayo Clinic includes it on their recommended list of lean beef choices for health-conscious eaters. It sits at $4 to $7 per pound at most grocery chains, making it one of the most affordable cuts in the entire store, while delivering a nutritional profile that the premium case cannot match. A 3.5 to 4 ounce cooked serving provides 24 to 35 grams of protein. Total fat, just 3 to 9 grams. Naturally occurring sodium, approximately 65 milligrams per 4-ounce serving before any seasoning. Compare that to the enhanced beef at number 10, which delivered up to 540 milligrams in the same portion size. Top round plain starts at 65. For anyone managing blood pressure, monitoring cholesterol, or following a doctor's guidance on saturated fat, Top Round checks every box that the cuts in the first half of this list fail. It provides the complete protein and full micronutrient profile, B12, iron, zinc, that older adults need for muscle maintenance and energy, without the fat load that creates cardiovascular risk. A cut this lean, this affordable, and this nutritionally dense is genuinely rare at any price point. At $5 to $7 a pound, it is exceptional. Sliced thin against the grain after a low, slow roast, Top Round is clean and mildly beefy, firm in texture. It holds up in sandwiches, stir-fries, or any preparation that lets other ingredients do the work around it. Top Round does not photograph like a ribeye. It does not smoke like a brisket. It just quietly delivers more of what your body needs and less of what your heart doesn't, every single week. That is number 3. Number 2 has been feeding American families for generations, at a price that still reflects where it came from. Number 2, brisket. Brisket is the most underestimated dollar in the grocery store. Whole packer brisket runs $3 to $5 per pound for USDA choice. At warehouse stores, as low as $2 to $2.50 per pound for select grade. A 12-pound brisket at $4 a pound costs $48 and feeds 10 to 12 people. Do the math. That is $4 per person for beef that delivers some of the most satisfying eating in the entire meat department, and days of meals from a single purchase. Here is what that price actually buys. Brisket is rich in collagen, the connective tissue that breaks down during long, low cooking into gelatin. That gelatin is what produces the extraordinary tenderness and the silky cooking liquid that makes brisket unlike anything else in the case. For older adults, dietary collagen is associated with joint support, skin integrity, and gut lining health. It is a genuine nutritional benefit embedded in the cooking process, a health advantage that grandmothers were delivering correctly long before nutritionists had a name for what they were doing. And the history behind this cut is worth knowing, because for many of you watching, it is not history at all. In Jewish households across America, brisket was the Passover centerpiece for generations, slow braised in wine and vegetables until it surrendered entirely. In Texas, it became the anchor of American barbecue culture in the early 20th century, as immigrant communities passed down low and slow techniques through their families. This cut has been feeding American families at working-class prices for longer than the modern grocery store has existed. Deep, smoky, savory beef flavor that builds through every slice. The point cut pulls apart with almost no effort. The flat cut slices clean and firm. Together, they represent the full range of what beef can produce, from a single purchase under $50. Brisket has been the people's cut for over a century. The grocery store still hasn't figured out how to charge what it is worth. That is your advantage. That is number 2. Number 1 is the cut ranchers call the unsung hero of the meat case, the one professional butchers choose for their own tables over anything else in the store. Number 1, top sirloin steak. Top sirloin is the cut professional butchers buy for their own dinner tables, not because they cannot afford ribeye, but because they understand something the grocery store is counting on you not to. It comes from the loin, the same region that produces New York strip and tenderloin, but it sits just outside the short loin, which is the only reason it lacks the premium designation given to its neighbors. That geography is the only thing separating it from cuts priced $8 to $12 higher. The muscle itself is exceptional. In 2025, top sirloin averages $13 to $15 per pound nationally. Ribeye and NY strip run $22 to $27 per pound. That is $8 to $12 per pound in real weekly savings on beef that professional butchers rank as their personal first choice. Bold, beefy flavor that ribeye matches on richness but does not exceed on character. Moderately tender, more than the price suggests, with enough marbling to stay juicy through the cooking process without the saturated fat load that makes fattier cuts a cardiovascular concern. The Mayo Clinic lists it among the leanest cuts of beef when properly trimmed. It provides approximately 20 grams of protein per 100 grams, alongside iron, zinc, B12, niacin, B6, and selenium. The complete nutritional profile needed to support energy, muscle maintenance, and long-term health. It rewards simple cooking. Salt, pepper, a hot cast iron pan or grill, 4 to 5 minutes per side, 3 minutes of rest. No technique required. No butter-based, no sauce needed to carry the plate. A complete, deeply satisfying steak at a price that makes sense every single week, not just on special occasions. Top sirloin is beef that earns its place on your plate without requiring you to pay for a name, a marketing campaign, a Japanese word, or a celebrity face on the label. If you ever find yourself reaching for a $25 ribeye, ask yourself one question. Does it give you more protein, more flavor, or more value than top sirloin? The answer is almost always no. The next time you walk into the meat department, remember what you just learned. 4 companies, JBS, Tyson, Cargill, and National Beef, control 85% of all beef processing in this country. In 1977, that number was 25%. That consolidation happened in one generation, and it happened while Americans were shopping, cooking, and trusting the labels in front of them. The DOJ has investigated these companies for price manipulation. Beef prices are at their highest level since 1951, and the cuts grocery stores promote most aggressively are still the ones built for their margins, not your health. Spend less time reading the front of the package. Start reading the ingredient list, the sodium content, and the price per pound. The best beef does not need a Wagyu label, a grill-ready marinade, or a marketing team to justify what is inside it. It just needs honest sourcing and a price that reflects what you are actually getting. The meat department was designed by corporations protecting their margins. Now you are shopping with yours.